And here we are for another edition of Dark Cave Customs. This is Autobot X23, also known as Dark Cave Customs, and we're looking at one of my, currently, one of my most popular pieces. This is a Classics Jazz. For those not familiar with your man Classics Jazz, he's based off, of course, one of our favorite characters from the G1 series, back in the 80s when we were all knee-highs to a fly's eye. And he comes with a couple of special features. Now, this is one of the many different versions Hasbro has done, and a great job, I might add, of the classic characters that, you know, kind of hung around with Optimus. I would kind of put them as like the Autobot Seekers. You know, you had Smokescreen, you had Prowl, you had Blue Streak, and you have Jazz. Jazz, of course, was one of Prime's main lieutenants. And one of my personal favorite characters because he was just, you know, really well styled. He was awesome. He was urban. He was hip. And I, of course, loved him like a lot of other people did. So it's been pretty popular. Everybody's really liked him. The most notable feature, as you can see, is the awesome head on this guy. Now, for you guys who aren't aware, I'll give you a little bit of history on the whole Jazz head thing. It was a BotCon exclusive in 2008. For a shattered glass Jazz figure, and of course as many artists as they could were dying to get a hold of that head so that they can make their own classic Jazz figures. Hasbro, of course, has an exclusivity agreement with the guys who run BotCon, so that's a no-go on getting classic Jazz heads. A lot of guys who made a few heads got little cease and desist notices, so they had to stop. I was fortunate enough to be able to build one close enough to it looks really similar to the BotCon one. Of course, that was kind of like my litmus test, so to speak, of how to get it done. And I applied a couple of special techniques to the head, just basic washes, but I'm learning how to mix my washes with a few different ingredients that make them a little heavier. For example, if you take your wash and mix it with a little bit of Future, it makes the entire thing heavier. And what that does is that causes that paint that you want to go into those little nooks and crannies, to go into those areas without you having to do a lot of muss and fuss. So really cool little figure. I'm glad everybody's liked it. A couple of special features on him. You'll notice that he's got Gundam hands, which are very popular hands to add to figures. I thought that the Gundam hands would make him a little bit off scale, but in actuality, they worked out pretty good. They open and close, and of course, they rotate at the wrists for full degrees of articulation. I modified his gun a little bit, and I'll show you guys that. Because it's a Gundam hand, right, it wants to fit into that little notch. Well, what we've done is we've done a little bit of sanding into that notch, and that allows for the hand, the gun rather, to slide right into his little hand. And it holds on pretty well, as you can see. A little bit of paint scratching on the gun, but you know, it's the gun. Get over it. You know, it's not that serious. The custom decals I threw on him, created in Adobe Illustrator, printed out. That's of course the classic Martini graphic that Jazz always had, and the identifying number 4, which is also really big. The head, I did some unique stuff for it. We're actually going to take a pretty close look at it because it's pretty interesting. The post on this guy is usually a lot larger. It actually sticks up a lot further on your standard classics figures. What I've done is sand that as far down as you can without kind of damaging the actual material. That way, if you want to, you can get his head a lot closer to his body. That was one of the cool things about Jazz, the toy, when he transformed, like the head just sat right there. Of course, a little bit of articulation, but you know, it sat right there. It was really close to the frame, and for my version of Jazz, I wanted that head to get a lot closer to the actual body to give it that full Jazz look. The visor has a nice little wash on it too, so it has that kind of a gradient effect across the front of it. And as far as modifications, that's about it. The rest of it's paint and just patience and decal work. I did shoot it with something I've never done before. I'm using an airbrush now, so some pearlescent paint. So I'm not sure if you can capture it in a video, but depending on which way the light hits, you'll get kind of a pearlescent effect, almost like kind of that hue of like a white gold kind of, you know, as it reflects on the paint. And it's really cool to see in person. Of course, whoever wins the auction will get to take advantage of that and hold on to that in their private collection. The windows were painted black. A lot of people didn't care for that. Sorry about that. I just like the black windows. I'm sorry. I painted it for me, so you can buy it. But, you know, I painted it for me. And there you go. That's just a really close look at my buddy here. He'll be on auction on eBay until Monday. And like I said, because of the whole Hasbro head issues, there will not be any commissions on this guy. So this is one of those opportunities where if you want them, you kind of have to get them now. If I get an email in a month saying, hey, can I get a Jazz? I'll be like, no, you can't. So sorry. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed looking at them. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And that's one of my favorite figures. One of the more popular, one of my recent pieces, my Classics Jazz. Right now it is #1 Transformer custom on eBay. Of course, my buddy Incline or Frenzy Rumble don't have anything up this week, so I didn't have to fight them. And it works out pretty good. So enjoy, have a look. As you can see in the video, he looks just as good as the video he's done in pictures. I hope you add him to your collection. Another Dark Cave custom Transformer custom. And Dark Cave out.